Every sunrise over these mountains adds another page. Every generation contributes another chapter. Every child born here inherits a legacy that began centuries before they took their first breath. That is the remarkable thing about history. It is never finished. It lives through us. Today, Trenggalek is moving confidently toward the future while remaining deeply rooted in its past. Its schools educate young minds that will shape the Indonesia of tomorrow. Its farmers continue to feed communities using knowledge refined across generations. Its fishermen still venture into the vast Indian Ocean with the same courage their ancestors once possessed. Its artisans preserve traditions that machines can imitate but never truly replace. Its cultural festivals celebrate identities that have survived centuries of transformation. These are not relics of a forgotten age. They are proof that heritage and progress can walk side by side. In an age where cities race to become taller, faster, and more modern, Trenggalek offers a different vision of development, one where economic growth does not require abandoning cultural identity, one where protecting forests is just as important as building roads, one where preserving local traditions is viewed as an investment rather than an obstacle, one where the wisdom of the past continues to guide decisions for the future. That philosophy may become increasingly valuable in the 21st century because around the world, communities are asking the same questions. How do we grow without destroying what makes us unique? How do we modernize without forgetting our roots? How do we compete globally while remaining true to our local identity? Trenggalek's history suggests that these goals are not opposites. For centuries, this region has embraced change without surrendering its soul. It welcomed new kingdoms, new religions, new systems of government, new technologies. Yet through every transformation, one principle remained constant. Identity was never negotiable. Perhaps that is why visitors often describe places like Trenggalek differently from destinations built solely for tourism. There is authenticity here, not because every building is ancient, not because every tradition has remained unchanged, but because the connection between people, place, and history has never been broken. You can feel it in the rhythm of village life. You can hear it in local stories passed down across generations. You can see it in the quiet pride of communities that understand their history is worth preserving. And that pride is justified, because the story of Trenggalek is not simply a regional story. It is an Indonesian story. It reminds us that the Republic of Indonesia was not built upon empty land. It was built upon centuries of civilizations that had already learned how to govern, cultivate, trade, create art, resolve conflicts, and build communities long before the modern nation was born. Every ancient inscription, every traditional village, every local language, every cultural practice, they form the foundation upon which modern Indonesia stands. Without understanding places like Trenggalek, we cannot fully understand Indonesia itself, because nations are not created overnight. They are the result of countless generations whose sacrifices often go unnoticed. The people who carved the gamelan inscription probably never imagined that more than 800 years later, people around the world would still be reading the story they chose to preserve. The farmers who dried cassava into gaplek could never have imagined that their everyday work would become part of a region's historical identity. The villagers who welcomed royal officials into their homes likely believed they were simply doing their duty. Yet history remembered them, not by recording every individual name, but by preserving the values they represented: service, loyalty, resilience, community. Those values remain timeless, because while technology changes, human character continues to shape civilizations. Empires have risen with unmatched military strength only to disappear within generations. Nations blessed with extraordinary wealth have collapsed because they lost their sense of unity. Meanwhile, communities grounded in strong values often survive challenges that seem impossible to overcome. Trenggalek's journey across more than 8 centuries is living proof of that truth. Its survival was never guaranteed. It survived because its people adapted, because they cooperated, because they remembered. And perhaps that is the greatest lesson this remarkable land offers the world. Never underestimate places that quietly preserve their identity. Never assume that history belongs only to famous capitals. Never believe that small communities cannot shape the destiny of a nation. Sometimes the strongest foundations are built far away from the spotlight. Sometimes the most enduring civilizations are those that value character above recognition. And sometimes the greatest stories remain hidden until someone finally decides to tell them. Today, that story reaches beyond the mountains of East Java, beyond Indonesia, beyond Southeast Asia. It becomes a reminder to all of us. Protect your history, honor your heritage, learn from your ancestors, build for the future, because the world changes faster than ever before. Technology will continue to evolve, cities will continue to expand, borders may continue to change, but if a people remember who they are, no force can erase the essence of their civilization. That is why Trenggalek matters, not because it seeks the world's attention, but because it proves that dignity does not depend upon fame, strength does not depend upon size, and significance does not depend upon recognition. Some places become great because the world celebrates them. Others become great because they quietly remain true to themselves for centuries. Trenggalek belongs to the second kind, and perhaps in the end, those are the places that leave the deepest legacy. Because when future generations look back on the story of Indonesia, they will not only remember the great empires, the famous battles, or the powerful leaders. They will also remember the communities that carried civilization forward through patience, resilience, and unwavering faith in who they were. Among those communities stands Trenggalek, a land where history was carved into stone, where culture was nurtured across generations, where identity endured every challenge, and where the past continues to illuminate the future, proving that the brightest civilizations are not always those that shine the loudest, but those whose light never goes out.